Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to a beautiful morning on retreat. I'll begin with a short Buddhist chant as a way of bringing the mind into the moment. An important, significant chant. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So welcome to this day, which is certainly a lovely winter's day. A little bit cooler than yesterday, but warmer than it has been, particularly with plenty of sunshine, a clear sky day, a good day for meditation. And obviously it's about making what is outside of us also within us, so a clear mind day, a day of cultivating the quality of our awareness through meditation. So many of you were here for the last session, the last retreat day, which was the first of the 4 retreat days over the Vassa period. And just as a bit of a recap, and also for those that are joining us online, we are streaming this so that there's a number of people that couldn't be here physically today for various reasons, even being outside this local area. So we welcome those people as well. And as a bit of a remind for the Vassa retreat, the Vassa, which translates as the rainy season, the monsoon season, particularly in Southeast Asia, is a period of time, so usually 3 months from the full moon of July to the full moon of October, where 2,500 years ago, the Buddha designated this as a time of retreat, particularly for monks and nuns, and also for other people spending time in monasteries, retreat centers, quiet abodes, places of seclusion, and to use this time for developing, deepening, defining, refining meditation practice, and as well maybe some degree of studying and learning through that period as well. So this as a retreat period, 3 months, 12 weeks, where people that are formally on retreat, they take up the determination to not be overnight elsewhere. So they determine to be in one place, the retreat place, for those 3 months, which allows them to quieten down, slow down, be more present, not engaging into going and comings and so forth. So a special retreat period outside of often busyness of the year that may be occurring. And so for us, a retreat period, non-residential, so that we come and go from here. But certainly we have 4 Sunday meditation days over the 3-month period to particularly come together, share together, practice together, and develop our meditation practice. A time to share one's presence, one's energy, one's inspiration, motivation, also listening to things that I might be sharing, also asking questions, as well as then using the time for practicing at home, wherever you do your meditation, in a more proactive way. So developing and deepening your meditation as an ongoing practice. So over the 3-month period, 12 weeks, it's a good way of developing a momentum that can continue on into the weeks beyond the full moon of October, into the ending of the year, maybe into the next year as well. So an important, significant time where one can make good progress in one's meditation and Dharma, or truth practice. And just as a reminder that as a retreat that was spoken about, emphasized, designated for monastics 2,500 years ago, I would say it's probably one of the longest ongoing yearly retreats that certainly I know of. So it's been going now for nearly 2,600 years. Every year the Vassa retreat happens. And so we're on the Vassa retreat. And even if you couldn't make it here last month for the beginning, which was, I think it was July 21st, you can still join in and continue with the program and the process of making use of this significant time. So for our day-to-day, the main focus is obviously meditation, but particularly, I give a theme to each Vassa retreat that I run here. And where last year's theme was Samma Samadhi, which translates as right meditation, which is the eighth factor in the Buddha's Eightfold Path, a path of practice designated to practice to realize full, complete spiritual enlightenment. So all the path factors culminate in Samma Samadhi, right meditation, which particularly the Buddha designated as developing the four deeper meditations of jhana, which translates as absorption, deeper states of consciousness. And so we looked into those more specifically last year. And this year, for our Vassa retreat, we're looking into what is termed early Buddhism. So I spoke a bit about early Buddhism last retreat day. But just as a bit of a remind, obviously Buddhism is now 2,500 years old, 2,600 years old since the passing of the Buddha. And over the course of the 2.5 millennia, Buddhism has developed, been somewhat sort of modified, even modernized to some degree, and taken on various expressions in the different places, countries, cultures that it's developed in. Often a flavor that relates to the particular customs, culture, people of that area. So you find that Buddhism in, let's say, in Sri Lanka is different from Buddhism in Korea, which is different from Buddhism in Tibet, and so forth. So whilst the fundamental teachings are there and the same, the particular wrappings and trappings can be somewhat different. And so to note that early Buddhism is then described as a period from the time of the Buddha, when the Buddha was alive and taught, and he was alive for 80 years before he died. So from that time up until the time of King Ashoka, very well-known Indian king who promoted Buddhism and even had his son and daughter go to Sri Lanka to help bring Buddhism to Sri Lanka. And so it was early Buddhism at the time designated from the Buddha up until the time of King Ashoka, where things started to modify and change. There was around that time the development of 18 different schools of Buddhism, which then, and many they were just different perspectives on practice and different maybe opinions, different sort of philosophical approaches. Fundamental teachings were still there. But those 18 schools have now refined down to 3 main schools of Buddhism, where the oldest school is what's called Theravada Buddhism, found in Southeast Asia, so countries such as Sri Lanka, Burma, Thailand, and Laos, also Cambodia. Then there is the Mahayana Buddhism, which is in countries such as China, Korea, expression of Mahayana in Korea, Japan as Zen Buddhism. Also, Mahayana Buddhism spread down into Malaysia, so China, Malaysia, and also into Vietnam as well. And then we have Vajrayana Buddhism, which is the expression of Buddhism in Tibet. So Tibetan Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism. So the oldest of these is Theravada Buddhism. And most of you know that I was ordained as a Theravada Buddhist monk, a monk for 11 years. Certainly the Buddha's teachings that are found to be most aligned to what the Buddha actually said are found in Theravada Buddhism. So the Theravada Buddhist collection of teachings, the Pali Canon in the language of Pali, for the most part what the Buddha said and taught. There were sort of later scriptures and interpretations and teachings that were added that are found in Mahayana and Vajrayana Buddhism as particular sort of helpful modes of practice. So we're looking into what was early Buddhism and what the Buddha said about particular things. And for our session today, we're looking into what meditation did the Buddha teach? What did he practice and what did he teach? What did he advocate for his practitioners? So we'll be looking into that today. And as a bit of a summary point, fundamentally, the Buddha's meditation was mindfulness of breathing, which develops calm, the Buddhist word samatha, into collectedness, samadhi, and into deeper states, jhana. So that's what the Buddha taught and practiced, and we'll be talking a bit about that through the day as well. As a bit of a note for the day, we'll have periods of sitting meditation, some walking meditation outside, and then also lunchtime be about 12:30. There's some lunch period, about 45 minutes. During the lunch period, feel free to connect with others, have a bit of a chat. If you wish, do so mindfully, and sit outside on the grass. There's chairs and things around you can use as well. If we're doing the walking meditation, just be mindful of there's a road that goes through our property here, and up to 3 neighbors, so not to be walking on the road in case the neighbors fly down the road there. And also in terms of, there's a toilet on the side, unisex toilet that you can use. If the door's closed, it may mean that someone's in there, so just give it a bit of a knock in case. There's a light just on the inside. Tea and coffee outside to make use of during the day, and some freshly cut bananas from our banana trees here. So help yourself to some bananas and biscuits, especially if you forgot your lunch. And for the most part, to relax into the day, make it a mindful, meditative, joyous day. You know, we're here to let go. We're here to be on retreat, and certainly that idea of retreat is a movement away. So we're retreating, we're backing off, moving away from the usual way of being, engaging, relating into the world, into the worldliness. So both physically, we're treated to be here in a quiet retreat space, but also psychologically, a sense of moving the mind away from worldliness, which certainly comes up as thoughts and memories and ideas and so forth, even values, moving the mind away from the worldly values for the retreat day, moving towards a seclusion, quiet time, and giving yourself the gift of inner seclusion. The Buddha often spoke about that he would spend time in a seclusion. He would abide in the abode of jhana, absorption meditation. That was his fundamental abiding place, to abide in that abode of the mind, free from external sort of thoughts and considerations. And so too, we can abide in that inner peace and tranquility for our day, which becomes a reference point for noticing how busy our minds can otherwise get, and also how busy we can get in terms of activities and behaviors. So time to stop, be present, connect, come back to balance, recalibrate, refresh, remind to be mindful, and then to allow that as a momentum to carry forth into the week starting tomorrow and so forth. So these monthly retreat days over the Vassa retreat become a real potent, powerful time for generating deep peace, deep presence, deep clarity, and insightful understanding, which is the result of the mind that's become calmed and clear. So very, very important and potent. So use our time well today on retreat. Hopefully everyone can stay until we finish at 3 p.m. But if for some reason that you can't, then that's okay as well. The same with the people that are connecting via Zoom. If hopefully they can stay with us till 3 p.m. as well. But if they can't, then that's okay to leave mindfully. But to generate a sense of collectedness and cohesion and harmony in our meditative program and process for this day. Just before we begin with the meditation, any questions or concerns? No? All good. So feel free to take any notes, write things down if you wish. I highly recommend making notes, both in terms of if I sort of mention something that's of significant, if you have some sort of insight or understanding or something you want to remind yourself of, make a note, write it down. The session is being recorded so that it can be viewed later on. So if you do maybe ask a question, then it's likely to be on the recording. I'm not showing any people's faces, but your voice might be there. I think we've all practiced meditation before, so we know what we're doing to some degree. We're all learning, but I will sort of offer some degree of guidance over the day, and also happy to answer any questions that certainly may come up. There were to be a few other people here this morning that haven't arrived. They may still arrive or not. So we'll see what happens. So let's settle in with a meditation. So certainly finding a comfortable sitting position. Aligning our body with some degree of symmetry, balance, poise, helping to enable some inner mindful presence. Meditation is practicing mindfulness, exercising, developing mindfulness, developing focused attention, concentration, particularly in the context of early Buddhist meditation, anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing, developing samadhi, concentration, a coalescence of mind. So establishing a comfortable sitting position, the eyes gently closed, which helps to bring awareness within. And we can also begin by having an initial deep, relaxing, letting go breath. Using that letting go breath, the outgoing breath, to carry away any stress, tension that may have been building in our body over the week, and also even in the process of arriving here this morning. So breathing out any stress, tension, letting go of worries, concerns, feeling into the body. Also letting go of roles that we maybe have been engaging through over the week. The mind engages through roles, the roles of self, self as a partner, self as a parent, self as a brother, son, sister, daughter, colleague, friend, whatever those roles are, and appreciating that roles come with responsibilities, obligations, duties, stress, and also thinking. So if the mind disengages from those roles, then thoughts that occur about those roles aren't needed, aren't necessary, aren't required. The mind doesn't need to take up, engage in, proliferate upon thoughts about being a whatever. Not even being a meditator. Just mindful, conscious, knowing in the present, awareness of the body sitting, and particularly the awareness of the body breathing, keeping things simple. Meditation, pure and simple. So letting go the roles, thoughts about what has been, thoughts about what might be, and feeling into the body. The Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse of the Buddha on the foundations of mindfulness, begins with mindfulness of the body. Sensing and feeling the body sitting here. Feeling grounded, settled, centered, present. Noticing some contact sensations, maybe feeling the feet connecting with the floor. Contact sensation, feet against the floor. Aware of that sensation. Bringing awareness up to sense and feel the touch of the body, connecting with the chair, meditation cushion or meditation stool. Mindfully sensing, feeling, noticing that. And bringing awareness to the placement of our hands and fingers resting in our lap. Maybe one hand against the other. Sensation of warmth or coolness, softness or moistness. Or maybe feeling the hands against the fabric of our clothes. Again, just another point of mindful knowing. Objective, receptive, attentive knowing. Neutral knowing. Knowing without judgment, just noticing and knowing. And bringing our awareness up further to our face. Noticing our face. Its large surface area of sensation. Maybe even feeling the air, cool air against our face. Just sensing, feeling, noticing. And also noticing light coming in through the closed eyelids. Even though our eyes are closed, there's some degree of light coming in. Perceiving lightness, brightness, color, patterning, or just a blankness. So even looking into that lightness, brightness, blankness through our closed eyelids. A forward focused gaze into the space in front through the closed eyelids. Not being distracted by background sounds. Just letting the sounds come and go as they are. But rather moving the mind to focus more exclusively in the present to the breath. So not engaging in mental sounds, the sounds of thoughts, the image of thoughts, but collecting and connecting mind energy to focus onto the breath. Fundamental meditation practice of exercising and strengthening attention, developing focus leading to concentration, profound peace that comes from a calm, clear, still, pure mind. Finding the place of main sensation with regards to the breath, which may be somewhere in the nose or nostril area. Exerting right effort to direct attention to that place of sensation and exerting effort to hold attention there. So we're not controlling the breath, but we're more controlling the mind's attention to keep it at one place, one point, not wandering, just keeping it to that one place to feel the inflow, outflow of the breath in each present moment. The energy that otherwise goes to thinking and looking and moving and speaking, that energy can become collected and concentrated into attention. Feeling the inflow, outflow of each breath, whilst maybe also looking through the closed eyelids into the space in front, into that lightness, brightness, blankness. And if it's helpful to use a mental meditative word, a mantra, a mental word in the mind in conjunction with each breath as a helpful support or aid or crutch. The mind doesn't get caught into voicing, verbalizing other things, thoughts. So a helpful crutch, we can say in the mind as we breathe in, calm. As we breathe out, ease. Calm, ease. Calm, ease. Calm, ease. Just using that as long as it's necessary or helpful as a support to keep the mind present with each life-giving breath. Consciously noticing each breath as if our life depends upon it. Certainly our collected mindfulness depends upon it. The possibility of developing this quality of calm, clear mind that leads to the possibility of full spiritual enlightenment. Simply sitting, sensing, savoring the moment through each mindful breath. Directing attention, sustaining attention, allowing the arising of inner joy that comes from a calm, clear mind, flowing into a sense of well-being, ease, happiness, which develops more energy for one pointed attention. These 5 factors, developing and deepening meditation, initial application of the mind onto the breath, sustained application, so placing and holding, the development of inner joy, well-being, and focused attention. Vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekagata. Just noticing if the mind's become distracted into some thinking, and if so, gently retrieving our attention and bring it back to the breath, connecting with each soothing, therapeutic breath. Simply sitting, being, breathing, knowing, each mindful breath nurturing, nourishing mind, body, and being. as we sit, maintaining our focus, making each breath significant, special, important, each life-giving breath, giving life to the mind of alertness, clarity, developing and deepening focus, concentration, peace, and presence. just a few minutes left in the meditation, putting in extra effort to maintain this focused attention, feeling and knowing each breath, directing attention, sustaining attention, allowing the arising of inner joy, well-being, leading to focused attention, one-pointedness of mind, samadhi. Now, just before ending this meditation, inwardly reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the day, and into the evening. And to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. Our meditation can continue with some mindful walking meditation. If you wish to keep sitting, do so. But we can otherwise do some walking until about 11, so about 30 minutes. Anyone that hasn't done walking meditation before? Okay, so with the walking, just finding a place outside, maybe between 10 to 20 paces, place where someone's not going to be walking in front of you, and eyes open, looking down about 2 meters ahead, hands in front or behind, and then walking about half our normal walking pace. So rather than focusing on our breath, we're focusing on the movement of the legs, particularly the feet. And in the mind, we can be saying, if we like, lifting, placing, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. So really feeling the movement. We're even doing it a bit slower, lifting, moving, placing, lifting, moving, placing. When we get to the end of the length of walking distance, is stopping, standing, checking where the mind is if it's become distracted, bring it back into the body, be back to the breath for a few breaths, then mindfully, when you're ready, turning around and then pacing back again. So we're basically pacing back and forth as a way of exercising, developing attention, mindfulness. And if you do want to stand, just stand and breathe for a few minutes. That's also as good as well. That's standing meditation. But certainly the walking meditation can be a great activity for strengthening that mindful presence, enhancing the sitting meditation when we come back to sitting, and also as a break from just the sitting posture. It can also be helpful if you're feeling a bit dull, a bit tired, so get energized through walking, or if you're feeling a bit agitated, restless, calming down through the walking, or if you have some physical pain in the body, also that the walking can help to ease it if it's pain from sitting. So very, very helpful practice. And I must say that when I was a Buddhist monk, I would have done as much walking meditation as sitting meditation. Mosquitoes had less of a chance to get me when I was walking in Thailand. So it's a very, very soothing thing to do. So find some place out the side, this side, the other side of the house, down the front, on the little track, the grass track that goes up the side by the rock wall, down in the car park. Should be enough places, or out the front where the carport front area is. And certainly wear shoes if you need to. If you're on the grass, maybe not so necessary. If you see a big beast out there, that's Tigger, the dog. He's friendly. So enjoy some walking meditation. See you in about 30 minutes. Settling back down into our meditation, sitting meditation, just mindfully noticing the transition from the walking to the standing, to the sitting, from eyes being open to eyes being closed. Noticing how the body feels as it settles into sitting, and also noticing how the mind is, state of mind. Using the sitting posture to help settle the mind, particularly taking up the sensation of the breath, which is an ongoing movement. Breath moving in, breath moving out of the body, but locating that place of main sensation to direct attention, sustain attention, helping the mind to become calm and settled, focused and attentive. Noticing each breath as if our life depended upon it. not missing out on noticing an in-breath or an out-breath, and even noticing the quality of the breath. Is the in-breath long or short? Is the out-breath long or short? Is the in-breath longer than the out-breath? Or the out-breath longer than the in-breath? Just noticing. Feeling and knowing each breath, whilst also looking ahead through our closed eyelids into that lightness, brightness, or blankness, and space that thoughts of image often present on, that visual screen. So keeping the screen blank by looking into the lightness, brightness. And if we find there's lots of mental talking, thoughts in the mind, our voice, maybe someone else's voice, then using the mental meditative mantra to help block those thoughts. Just the two thoughts, calm, ease, calm, ease. Two meditative words in the mind. This is our special time for coming back to being and knowing rather than doing and thinking. This gift of a retreat, moving the mind from beyond the issues, worries, and ways of the world, the concerns of self. Thoughts always tend to be about self or things in relationship to self, people in relationship to self. Allowing the mind to become calm and quiet, still and spacious. Allowing the arising of ease and joy. The meditative quality known as piti, the Buddhist word piti, which translates as joy, joy or rapture. It comes from a calm, still mind that flows into sukha, a happiness, a ease, a well-being, that then allows a one-pointed attention, a collectedness, ekagata, moving into that quality of samadhi, even into what is called access concentration, upachara samadhi, access concentration, moving into deeper states of mind, the quality of jhana, absorption meditation, refinement of consciousness, the birthright of us all, the peace and presence of meditation. Again, just mindfully noticing where the attention is. If it's got caught into thinking, gently retrieving our attention back to the present, back to now, back to this point of existence, the present moment. And even exercising and exerting some effort to keep attention in the present, feeling and knowing each breath, feeling each soothing, therapeutic breath, making each breath special, each life-giving breath. Just a few minutes left in the meditation, maintaining our focus, feeling and knowing each breath nurturing, nourishing mind, body, and being. Now, just before ending this meditation, inwardly, reminding ourselves to try and sustain as much of this calm, mindful focus, keeping that going on into the ongoing moments, minutes, hours of the day and evening. And to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. A little stretch if you need to for a minute or so. So, how are we feeling? Okay, good enough? Could be better? Certainly, the more we engage mindfulness and practice the meditation, it develops a momentum to be more aware, more calm, more clear-minded, maybe even aware of things coming up in the mind, backload of information, issues, concerns, ideas about the future, but it's about recognizing that and not buying into it. Just recognizing it as just mental movements, things that relate to self, and that you're giving yourself this chance to be here now, not be caught up in the has been or the might be. Be here now. This is our real gift. And certainly, we can function better in whatever roles and responsibilities that we do have if we've had time out, downtime, a break time. So, this is your Sunday meditation break from roles and responsibilities, so that not engaging into those in the mind. But it takes some time to settle into that. Even if we were doing a longer retreat over several days, usually it takes people a day or two on a week-long retreat just to sort of calm down, settle down, sort of shaking off, moving out of the energy and the roles that we get so caught into, so entrenched in. So it's an ongoing practice. But certainly being aware of what might be coming up in the meditation, and using it as just noticing it's just a phenomena. Don't need to buy into it, believe it, become it. Just be here now, knowing. And that's where the three things that we can be aware of: the sensation, physical sensation of the breath, significant. Even emphasizing the breath a bit if you find the mind sort of sliding off. Looking at that lightness, brightness, that blank screen in front, and then also the meditative words, and which are not that necessary, but they can be helpful, and you can choose whatever words you might, such as calm, ease, or here now, here now, here now, mindful, mindful. So just a strategy to be helpful. if we consider um, why meditation, why are we practicing meditation? Probably we're practicing the same meditation for the same reason that the Buddha practiced meditation and taught meditation 2,500 years ago. Like there may be sort of little specific changes in that, but fundamentally the Buddha practiced meditation for the ending of suffering, the ending of stress and suffering. So even though we might be practicing meditation because it feels good, or it's to develop more focus, or to the health benefits of it, ultimately to reduce, to relieve stress and suffering, even to end stress and suffering, the ending of it completely. Um, Considering early Buddhism and the Buddha's avenue into meditation, because certainly there's varieties of meditations. Certainly, even today, all the different types of meditations that you can get on various apps. There's a whole plethora of multiple meditations, multiplicity of meditations. Even in currently in Buddhism, there's lots and lots of different meditations. Even within the various schools of meditations, different meditations. But if we go right back to the meditation of the Buddha practice 2,500 years ago, it's the scriptures, the Pali teachings are fairly specific in what the Buddha was practicing, and also why as well. The story goes that Siddhartha, who was to become the Buddha, born as a young, born as a prince to a local sort of provincial ruler, monarch, lived a life of luxury up until the age of 29, and being away from things that could stir his mind to consider and ponder life and meaning and so forth, because his father was told that your son will either become a great ruling monarch or a great spiritual teacher. And so the king didn't want his son to go off and become a yogi, a great spiritual teacher. He wanted him to continue the line to be a monarch, be a king. So kept him away from things that might get him thinking about life and meaning and purpose and philosophy and religion, spiritual things. But on 4 occasions, Siddhartha went outside of the palace area that was kept nice and clean and beautiful, and away from things that could stir his mind up. On one occasion, far outside, probably outside the local area, he came across what's called the first sight, or the first heavenly messenger. And he saw aging, somebody that was really old and haggard, and he was with his charioteer, and said, "My goodness, what's wrong with that person? Is it a person? That's just a really, really old person." And Siddhartha was told that everybody, if they live long enough, becomes old and haggard like that. Even kings, even queens, even rich noble people. If you get old, that's how you look. So that was distressing and disturbing for him. He could see the suffering in terms of being old. On another occasion, he went outside the nice area and saw someone that was really, really sick, illness, and was very distressed by that. Certainly in India at that time, you'd probably see all sorts of illness, leprosy, and people with bits falling off their bodies. And he was told that sickness comes to everybody. There's no guarantees. Even wealthy, noble people can get really sick and die. Third occasion, saw a corpse. Never seen a dead person before, and was distressed by that. And what's wrong with a person? Are they sick? No, they're dead. That's going to happen to everybody. Your wife, your child, your father. His mother had already died just after he was born. So There might have even been some sort of trauma there. So that certainly stirred him up, death, and feeling a sense of unease, the suffering that comes from aging, illness, and death. Is there a way to not suffer from these things, these realities, these facts of life? And is there a way to be beyond being born into another life to have to go through this again? These were the things that disturbed him, distressed him. So he was even probably, distressed, disturbed, even depressed about, here I am, young man, strong, and yet this is going to come to me. This is going to come to the people that I love and care about. Fortunately, on a fourth occasion, he saw a yogi and was asked his charioteer, so what's their profession? What are they up to? And the yogi might have been meditating, and so Siddhartha was told, well, that person is aspiring towards wisdom, aspiring towards freedom, finding the way beyond stress and suffering, samsara, whole cycle of death and rebirth again and again and again. That got him thinking that this could be possible. I feel the need to find this. This could be my mission, to find a way beyond aging, illness, and death, beyond rebirth, being caught up in samsara. That motivated him to then leave his palace life, to go off and find the way to end stress and suffering. So he was deeply feeling and deeply troubled by the existential realities of life. He probably thought it might take a little while and he'd just go back home after that. Now I realized the truth. I'll tell you what it's about. But he practiced for 6 years of austerities, hardship, pain, anguish, various meditations. Still wasn't enlightened. Spent his final time before enlightenment with 5 other yogis, and their trip was fasting. You want to get rid of desire. Desire is the issue. Desire gets you caught into craving and clinging and wanting and lusting and so forth, and back into rebirth. So you've got to get rid of desire. The last desire is for food. So don't eat. So he didn't eat. And he got thinner and thinner and thinner. He found that his mind was becoming distracted, dull, not helpful for clarity of mind. His body was very, very fatigued and not well. The discourses talk about that time that if people looked at him, they didn't know what color he was because his body had changed color. He said that if he touched his stomach, he was touching his backbone at the same time. His eyes sunk down into the sockets. They looked like the glimmer of light in a deep well. He touched his arm, the hair that was just rotten would just roll off. So very, very emaciated and not well at all. And he realized this is not the way to clarity, to peace of mind, to enlightenment. Then he had a remembrance of when he was a child, watching his father performing a ploughing ceremony, tilling the earth for the first sort of beginning of the season of ploughing. And he was sitting under a rose apple tree just as a young boy and having a sense of delight, just being there, feeling good, watching his father, the king. And his mind went into a deep state of peace, of calm, of tranquility. And he was there for hours in this sort of just deep state of peace. And so remembering this, and the quote is, I considered, could jhana, this deep state of peace, be the path to enlightenment? Then came the realization that is the path to enlightenment. So he saw that fasting wasn't the way, so he was able to take some food, get his strength back, get his clarity of mind back, and using the deeper meditations as that path to enlightenment. Another quote from the text says, as a sort of the way of practice, quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, I entered upon and abided in the first jhana, the first level of the 4, which is accompanied by sustained attention with rapture and pleasure born of seclusion. And the seclusion here is seclusion from the 5 hindrances, which is on the sheet that I gave you. It's quite significant because the whole of the practice comes down to moving the mind from being caught up and caught into and caught out by those five hindrances. So secluded from those five. And there's on the sheet I gave you, there's five factors. Vitaka, Vichaka, Piti, Sukha, Ekagata. They're the five factors that help to dissolve and eliminate those five hindrances to mental calm and clarity. With the stilling of applied and sustained attention, I entered upon and abided in the second jhana, which has self-confidence and singleness of mind with applied and sustained attention, with the rapture and pleasure born of concentration. Then with the fading away of, as well of rapture, I abided in equanimity, and mindful and fully aware, still feeling pleasure within the body, I entered upon and abided in the third jhana, on account of which noble ones announce he has a pleasant abiding who has equanimity and is mindful. With the abandoning of pleasure and pain, and with the previous disappearance of joy and grief, I entered upon and abided in the fourth jhana, which has neither pain nor pleasure, and purity of mindfulness due to equanimity. When my mind concentrated, when my concentrated mind was thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, and attained to imperturbability, I directed it to knowledge. So that became the path to liberation. So the refinement of mind and consciousness, so deeper states of mind, so the mind moving from, in terms of neurological sort of terminology, from the regular beta brainwave pattern into an alpha and theta brainwave pattern, which also then increases energy, also increases oxytocin, feel-good hormones, serotonin, dopamine. And because there's that inner feeling of bliss, pleasure, joy, the mind is moving away from a reliance on the senses for satisfaction. So there's a type of a maturing, a purification, a strengthening, a lessening of attachment to things. I'm so much looking forward to lunch because that's my main pleasure, eating or listening to nice music when I go home, or whatever it might be. There's a sense of noticing that there's a deep, profound pleasure that comes from the mind that's not caught up in just using the senses. Because the senses of the body, they're basically affected by aging, illness, and certainly death. So a pleasure not born of the senses. And as a quote about that, it would have said, jhana, again, the deeper meditation is called the pleasure of renunciation, the pleasure of seclusion, the pleasure of peace, the pleasure of enlightenment. I say of this kind of pleasure that it should be pursued, that it should be developed, that it should be cultivated, that it should not be feared. So in a way, it's like appreciating that there is a great peace and pleasure that comes through developing the mind through meditation, which helps us to not be so attached to, caught into the body, because these bodies, they're not a sure thing. They're sort of subject to aging, illness, and death, and they take a lot of maintenance to keep them feeling good and feeling fit and being healthy and being well rested and looking good and smelling nice and so forth. Not that one's going to avoid doing that. We still sort of look after the body, but we're not so reliant and dependent upon it. In a way, we could also say, well, what did the Buddha realize? That knowledge and vision that led to enlightenment, that led to a letting go, the mind not being identified with the sense of self that comes up. But what the Buddha realized, something which I remember Ajahn Sumedho, Ajahn Chah's most senior Western student, saying, I spent some years living with Ajahn Sumedho in England. He'd say, so what did the Buddha realize? What did the Buddha know? What do enlightened people know and realize? what it is that what they realize and know, all things are impermanent, unsatisfactory, and non-personal. That's it. So we've heard it. Are we enlightened? So we can hear this, we can understand this. Enlightened, the Buddha's realization. Um, Enlightened people know everything's impermanent. Yes, everything changes. We know that. Everything's unsatisfactory because it doesn't last. It's subject to cause and conditions, dependent upon other things. Basically, a sense of stress and suffering, and that there's no permanent self to be found in anything. Self is just a mental process of identification. So we can understand that, but why isn't our mind enlightened? Because we understand it on a level, sort of intellectual level, but the mind that becomes purified by not being caught into those five hindrances becomes clarified through concentration and focus, appreciates and sees and senses in a much more deeper, profound way, which is why the Buddha emphasized the importance of developing concentration practice to refine and focus the mind so that when one sees and understands, it has a deep, profound effect. And I think that's the challenge to develop, yes, the brain neurologically, and that then emphasizes the mind. The brain is like the hardware, the mind is like the software that can then perceive in very distinct, developed, and deep way the facts and truths which are in front of us all the time, but known, taken to heart in a special way. Which is why, again, the Buddha spent his lifetime emphasizing the importance of meditation generally. So the Buddha's path is a path of mind development. It's not physical development. The monks wouldn't be out there bodybuilding and doing sort of acrobats and gymnastic things and feats of kung fu and so forth, martial arts. It's not a physical yoga. It's a mental yoga. It's training and exercising and developing the mind devoted to clarity, devoted to realizing truth. Hence the importance of meditation. The whole practice trinity in Buddhism is Sila, Samadhi, Panya. So Sila, morality, that helps the mind to be at ease, not caught into remorse and regret and guilt and shame. So living in a wholesome, moral, ethical way, 5 precepts, 8 precepts, 10 precepts, monastic precepts, 227 precepts. So living in a moral way that then supports the mind to become collected, free from remorse and guilt and shame, able to have a sense of ease and joy and become focused. And then when it's deeply focused and calm and clear, it can see things in reality, and that's develops wisdom, understanding, insight, vimutti, freedom. So certainly meditation is of the essence. And I think that probably, say, I feel that no more, at no other time in the history of humanity, is there more a need for people to be enlightened than now. Because life is becoming increasingly complex, confusing, confrontational. Just pick up a little thing like this, and suddenly life's there confronting you. The world's on, right there with one of these things. And so that we are confronted by things that are incredibly challenging and distressing and overwhelming. So that we need to actually develop the clarity and wisdom, even enlightenment, apart from the fact that, one wonders how long is this planet going to last for, with the ecological, environmental issues that are certainly happening. So that how many more times could I be reborn before the planet's kaput? But that's why they're looking at doing something on Mars. Don't worry, guys. When you die, you can get reborn as a being on Mars. May not look quite as you do now, but ideally to realize ultimate reality, truth, freedom, so the mind doesn't get reborn back into needing to experience life and trying to find some degree of satisfaction and happiness through seeing and hearing and smelling and tasting and touching and feeling and thinking. The end, the end of all of that, completion, matriculation in a real meaningful sense, so that that becomes the practice path. And in a way, it's not complex. Our minds can make meditation complex. All the varieties of meditations that exist today, even in Buddhism has become a lot more complex than what it was at the time of the Buddha. Um, the Buddha was often saying to monks, "Janati, janati, janati." Basically, go and meditate. Janati, jhana was the word for meditation. Janati, go and meditate. Um, Cultivate the mind, bhavana, cultivation, chitta bhavana, mind cultivation. Develop samadhi, collectedness of mind, leading to insight, understanding, liberation, letting go. So we live in that possibility of fulfilling this. So that it's a special time in human history where we can, we're privy to information, we're privy to the possibility of teachings, monasteries, meditation centers, retreat days like this. Not being alone, practicing meditation, we can come together and do this. When I first started practicing meditation 40 odd years ago, there was a Buddhist temple in the city, in Sydney. Some Thai monks there. There was a number of Westerners would go there, but Buddhist meditation was something that was fairly new, and I wanted to get into meditation. I realized that the best way to do that was to jump in the deep end, be a Buddhist monk. There wasn't a local meditation group. There wasn't sort of Zoom sessions with meditation that I could connect in with. There was hardly, not many books about meditation. The local library wouldn't have had any books about meditation. So that times have changed. We can even sort of connect into a meditation group on our phone. There's apps and so forth. Amazing. So to use this time now for really motivating towards clarity and the possibility of enlightenment, because none of us are getting any younger, seemingly. Even if we might feel a bit younger or even look younger. We shave our hair off and we look younger because you can't see the grey hairs.
That's an illusion, isn't it, John?
Well, the Thai monks in Thailand, they shave their eyebrows off as well, so you can't see how grey they are. So certainly the Buddha emphasized what he practiced as meditation, so concentration meditation, together with elements of reflection and contemplation. So concentration, contemplation. And certainly that's what early Buddhism was very much about. The monks and nuns practiced in that way, and lay people as well. Keeping it simple. So there's enough understanding, enough clarity of mind, particularly by reducing those 5 hindrances, which is why I gave you the sheet that really important to be aware of and remind yourself of those 5 hindrances. They're also on the chart over here. And those 5 things that hinder, hold back, limit, restrict the natural purity, clarity, brilliance of the mind. And both in meditation and also outside of meditation, those 5 hindrances, 5 hindrances of thoughts of sense desire, so desires for the senses, which leads to attachment and clinging and craving and wanting or regretting and so forth. So thoughts of sense desire, thoughts of aversion or ill will, anger, negativity, mental dullness, sloth, torpor, and then also agitation agitated, restless mind, and then also the mind that gets caught up in doubt, or delusion, doubt. And those 5 are manifestations of the 3 core ills. 3 core ills, which are basically greed, aversion or anger, and ignorance or delusion. The GAI virus, greed, anger, ignorance. The unenlightened mind is affected or infected with, to some degree. So the liberated mind is totally free from that virus, that 3-strain virus. Total health and wellness, psychological purity, psychological perfection, enlightened, liberated, free. No greed, no anger, no ignorance. That becomes a possibility. And particularly by noticing the manifestation of those 3 through, again, thoughts of sense desire, that leads to attachment, clinging, craving, thoughts of ill will, I don't like, I don't want, negativity, the mind just going into dullness, I don't want to pay attention, I just want to dull out, or being agitated, restless, or again, the doubting that comes up. So being aware of them, and then you can note them in day-to-day life. Oh, there's a mind getting caught up in that. Subtle, might be just subtle. Think about, oh, something nice to eat when I go home, or lying in my bed, or we just, oh, I just like to go and pat the dog because it feels good. So that being aware, because that's where there's going to be suffering. Oh, sorry, you can't go home today. Oh, or got to stay longer at work. Oh, so we can see where desire can lead to distress, or even like, okay, I've had that, I've eaten that, or experienced that, but does that fulfill you? Maybe for a minute or 2 or 5, or an hour or 2 or 5, or a day or 2 or a week. Oh, I think I want another one. So it becomes a problem. Or maybe I've had it, but that wasn't enough. Is there another one in the fridge? Should we order another pizza? So that's subtle stress and suffering. So the Buddha was able to find that way to free the mind completely from attachments. And the fundamental attachment, the fundamental illusion that feeds into the attachment is the illusion of ego or self. That the sense of self is a construct. It's a cognitive construct. It's a mental process. It's the mental activity of identifying and identification. Noticing something that might be a phone, my phone, iPhone. So even becoming that. Get to know me by getting to know my phone. Oh, there's a Buddha on there. So it's like, yes, this is a manifestation of me. So it's the music that I might like, my friends, the everything on the phone is just an extension of me. The apps that one has. So self is like that. Self is just a collected process of identification. But meditation, the clarity of mind sees, okay, the mind doesn't have to identify with or as or through the self. It's just a construct to use. Otherwise, we're sitting here, I'm a this or a that, and that becomes a limiting factor. I'm a mother, I'm wondering how my kids are at home. I'm a dog owner, I'm thinking about my dog. Do I have to take him for a walk? I will at lunchtime. So being able to be aware of that, we use the self, we don't have to be limited by it. We're going to also put the phone down, turn it off. The same with the self. On a meditation retreat, no self required. Leave the self with your shoes. Just the body walks in, the mind is aware, Notice an in-breath, notice an out-breath, notice an in-breath, notice an out-breath. That's all. But it's not easy because the role of self gets sort of stuck. So the mind becomes sort of identified as that. And basically just comes through the process and activity of thinking. When there's no thinking, there's no self. There's just awareness in the present moment. Peace. So thinking is one of the things that we need to be mindful of as well, because again, those 5 hindrances tend to manifest through thinking, which is why focusing attention in the present on the breath, something fundamental, just the natural breath. It's not yogic breathing, just natural breathing. The breath is always with us, reminds us of present moment. And so wonderful meditation object. The commentaries that were written after the Buddha's death, particularly the Visuddhimagga, mentions 40 different topics of meditation. So 40 different topics, and they tend to be either for the purpose of collectedness and concentration or contemplation. And sometimes they're both linked. The concentration then leads into clarity that the mind can then be used for contemplation. Process of developing insight, vipassana. But the fundamental practice is anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. The two most significant discourses of the Buddha that go right back to what the Buddha spoke about, taught about, relating to meditation. The Anapanasati Sutta, the mindfulness of breathing discourse, and then also the Satipatthana Sutta, the mindfulness of the teaching on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, which includes the mindfulness of breathing in the aspect of body meditations, mindfulness of body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of mental states, mindfulness of mental content. 4 foundations of mindfulness for both, again, for concentration and contemplation. Any questions at this point? Questions or comments? Yes?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the word object, and what you just explained it like that we are talking about different topics. So that is just like it's nothing material, but I come from another the Tibetan meditation practices, and there are lots of physical objects.
Okay, right. Yeah.
To help us meditation. So this is just like really, really interesting. So to just like hear from you. So we are talking about topics, and the topics are the objects.
Yes,
so
yes.
Non-material.
Yes, so but they could be as well. Because some of the objects or topics of meditation are what are called kasina. Kasina is an object or phenomena that you can visualize in your mind. So it might be a bright light or a color, a sphere, or it could be an external object. So a monk or nun in their hut might have a colored sphere painted and stick it on the wall, and they just sit there and stare at it as a way of focusing. And then the sphere becomes more apparent in their mind, even if they're not looking at it, they can see it. So it's like it's called kasina meditations. In fact, I've got here some notes which I can send out as an email. And go through the this list 38. There's so 6 recollections as meditations of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, good conduct, generosity, and gods or deities. Also peace, so meditation on peace, on death, repulsiveness of food, the 4 elements, so earth, fire, water, air, Also meditating upon the 32 parts of the body, the mindfulness of the body. Then there's 10 meditations on ugliness of the body, meditating on either visualizing or seeing or even meditating with in a charnel or burning ground. Bloated body, the livid body, the festering body, the cut up body, the gnawed body. Obviously, some wild dogs have been there. This is India. The scattered bits and pieces of the body, the hacked and scattered, the bleeding, the worm infested, the skeleton. So they're meditations. So meditating on various aspects of the decay and of the body, or reducing desire and attachments to other people's bodies and one's own bodies. This is the nature of this phenomena that's so wonderful and lovely, but look what it comes to. So particularly for Buddhist monastics, not so much people that are in a relationship with somebody, otherwise it could be problematic. Meditation on friendliness, compassion, and sympathetic joy. The four kasinas, so earth, water, fire, and air, often there, and then also the four color kasinas, blue, yellow, red, and white. And then we have mindfulness of breathing meditation, mindfulness and meditations on equanimity, and then the four formless attainments. So they're the beyond the four jhana absorption meditations, there's the formless jhanas, which are a lot more refined. And that makes up 38 meditation practices. So, and it's also said that right back at the Buddhist times, all the way right through until now, whilst the mindfulness of the breathing meditation is one that's suitable for most people most of the time, but some people maybe have a tendency, a characteristic that is more related to some other meditation. And even where a meditation teacher may give a student a certain meditation topic that relates to a particular need that they might have. So, for example, someone that easily gets angered and upset, then developing the metta, loving kindness, compassion meditations. Someone that's caught up in attachment to things and the beauty of the body, then those meditations to help reduce that attachment to the body. But generally, it's said the mindfulness of breathing meditation is the one that is a general meditation for most people, and particularly helping to move the mind from getting caught up in thinking, which is a problem for most people. So exercising, strengthening attention, prefrontal cortex, neurological development. Any other thoughts or questions?
Um, what I don't really understand is the focus on enlightenment for self. Is there not an end of suffering for self? It seems to me that there's attachment there somehow, that you're attached to something for yourself. And is there no sort of, not requirement, but something that you end of suffering for other people rather than just for yourself?
Sure,
Can you
sure.
talk to that?
Yeah. In a way, they're both related. So, because in a way, it's like not so much enlightenment for self, but enlightenment is a result of seeing what the self really is, which is a mental construct. And when that happens, the more and more that happens, then there's less being caught into self. So there's more selflessness, more compassion, more consideration, more concern and thoughtfulness for others, because it's you see, well, so the self is just a relational tool, a psychological tool. I don't have to try and fulfill it or be so caught into that. So the more that occurs as degrees of understanding enlightenment, then there's more help and care and support for other people, more compassion for other people. So and certainly we can say that um, the Buddha Like once he was enlightened, he didn't go, okay, I've got it. I'm going home now. Nice bed at home. It was like, no, I need to share this with others. I want to, so out of compassion for other people, sharing and teaching. And it's like um, people that are on a path of practice, the more they realize, the more they understand, the more selfless they are, the more they want to help others, care about others, less about self. So it might seem that, oh, I want to get enlightened. Well, that's just a thought, but it's more, um, the more enlightened I am, the more I have more energy and care and concern for others. And the less I'm sort of caught into self. And even when the body dies, the mind doesn't get reborn back into life again. So it means that, hey, um, the cost of being a human being on the planet, especially in Western cultures, so, huge consumption of energy and resources and food and so forth. So hey, this mind's not coming back anymore. More for others, more space. Does that sort of answer the question? There's a question from George that relates to this. Do you want to read it out, Brendan?
Yeah. George said, "Hi, John. Recently, my manager at work suddenly died, and that has put me into feelings of grief, which made me realize that I always seem to be craving feelings of love or peace, feelings of calm, positive feelings. When I last asked you if the Buddha grieved, you said that he understood the true nature of everything. Does that mean he had no feelings? How are we to deal with strong feelings?"
So we could say that yes, the Buddha wouldn't grieve because the Buddha understands the nature of all things, which is impermanent. Things they don't last. They have an inherent. They can't ultimately satisfy us. They're unsatisfactory, and all things pertain to not being a permanent me or self. So when that's there, then the Buddha would have, rather than having grief, he would have had compassion and concern. So yes, feeling, but also not becoming identified with those feelings. So the Buddha's mind would have gone, oh, yes, there is compassion and concern for you, but I'm not sort of being caught up. I am so compassionate for you, or I'm so concerned for you. More like just a general selfless compassion and concern.
You're not attached to the feeling, so it's not causing any additional suffering.
That's right.
You.
Yeah. So the you is just seen to be as a mental construct. So it's the natural expression of the Buddha is care. So basically the four Brahma Viharas: care and kindness, compassion, joy with others when they're happy, and equanimity, calm composure in regards to the realities of life and existence. And again, that's what we're moving towards as well. As we mature, even as we are now, there's understanding the nature of things. Like a child might cry when it has its fingernails cut, not because it hurts, but it's lost something. But when we cut our fingernails, it's not like, oh, I'm so distressed and distraught that I'm grieving the loss of my fingernails, those bits, and maybe keep them under the pillow or something, or kids, I'll keep my tooth under the pillow and keep it in a bottle. Don't want to let it go, but there's a sense of understanding just the nature of these bodies, so that we ourselves aren't distressed or grieving things that we know just naturally come and go, our hair, bits and pieces, and so forth. So as wisdom develops, there is that understanding, less grief, and certainly the Buddha, ultimate clarity, and others that are enlightened, they're not going to have that degree of grief that comes from attachment, that comes from a sense of self. I'm wanting, I'm not getting, I'm losing, I've lost. That's the illusion that the awakened mind can see through and be beyond.
John, I remember a story of a child that they didn't want to get their hair cut. It was their first time ever getting their hair cut. And so they thought, well, if you cut my hair off, I won't be me anymore. So the father had to get his hair cut to show the child, no, look, I've had my hair cut and I'm
I'm still me, but
Mm,
was
mm.
that attachment to, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
the
yeah.
hair is me, and
Mm,
it's obviously not.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's normal and natural that the mind operates like that. So the unenlightened mind has this process of identification and sees that as a reality, and so that's why there's a resistance to change, and so that we all have that to some degree, resistant to change, because who would I be if I wasn't this or I wasn't that? But it's about awareness and the mind becoming calm and clear, and certainly reducing those five hindrances, that there can be deeper understanding and insight and a letting go.
I was watching an interview with Nick Cave, the singer, um, on ABC. Anyway, he was talking about grief because he had lost two children, has lost two children. And he was talking about grief and as a human condition, and grief and suffering. But his personal experience was to, instead of letting grief shut him down and close off from the world, he started a forum to online to hear other people's grief. And so people could write to him their grief and suffering, and that connection through compassion and sharing an experience helped him to process the grief, but also to remain open to the world.
Yeah.
So I think maybe the reason I'm bringing it up is because sort of coming to an understanding of the passing of life, or with non-attachment to life, like I think the tooth is a really great example. But as well, maybe not disengaging from others' feelings, because to not connect to that and not have deep compassion or understanding of those deep and troubling emotions in some way doesn't help the other person. I don't really know if I'm explaining it, but to remain in a sense of compassion.
And maybe in saying that, Claire, someone that has a degree of wisdom can also then see how so easy it is to be caught up in the attachment that then leads to the grief and despair. So there's that sense of knowing what it's like, but knowing the freedom that comes from when the mind is not caught into the attachment. Still love and care and compassion, support there, but not the attachment that leads to the great grief that can occur. So the sense of normalizing grief. And there's a wonderful story of the Buddha and a woman called Kesa Gotami, and she had her only child died. It was a baby, and she it shook her and distressed her, traumatized her, that she went into a type of a madness. And she just ran from place to place. And do you have some medicine for my baby? Do you have some medicine for my baby? And people could say, well, oh, it's dead. And no, and she sort of go elsewhere, trying to find someone that was going to heal her baby, and maybe heal her as well, to reducing the grief. Finally, someone said, "Oh, go and see the Buddha. He could have some medicine for you." So she found her way to where the Buddha was, and said to him, "I've come to get some medicine for my baby, and people said that you could help me." And the Buddha said, "Oh, right. Yes, I can help you. What I need from you is to go to the village and find and get some mustard seeds, because that's going to be some medicines, some mustard seeds." And she said, "Oh, that's easy. Everyone has mustard seeds." But he said, Buddha said, "It needs to come from a home or a house where there hasn't been any death." Okay, I'll go. So she went down to the village and went to a house. Can I have a few mustard seeds? Oh, sure. Has any death happened? Oh, yes. Last year, Grandma died. And oh, sorry, another house. Yes, mustard seeds. Has anyone died? Oh, our father died, month ago. And so she went from house to house. She couldn't find any house there where there hadn't been people experiencing death. And finally she realized, oh my goodness, everybody experiences death. Everyone's had a loss. And so she came to her senses, went back to the Buddha and said, thank you for the medicine. So that reality that of seeing that it's not just about ourselves, but everybody experiences these things. And again, that's part of what motivated young Siddhartha to go and find a way to ultimate freedom, freedom from stress and suffering and the continual rebirth and death. Just as another point, most of you probably would have received the email that I sent out after the first Vassa retreat day last month with attachments for articles and things, PDFs and so forth, that you can print off. It also included, so that you can make up a bit of a folder, it included the page, sort of front page for the retreat. Also, it included the calendar where you can tick off your meditations or write in how many minutes. And also there would have been articles such as Early Buddhism by Bhikkhu Analayo, and also How Early Buddhism Differs from Theravada by Sujato. Also one which was Pre-Sectarian Buddhism articles. So if you didn't receive that, there may be a couple of you. Maybe Kath, you wouldn't have got that. Peter, did you get that?
My wife receives the emails, so
Okay,
yeah,
she
I'm
might
gonna have. I want to have a look at that.
I can check the list and see if she would have got it. Send it on. And also for next week, I'll send out another email with some attachments, articles, and things that relate to early Buddhism in the context of meditation for your reading and learning, including the one by the one that I was showing you before by Rupert Yetting, which is titled On the Practice of Buddhist Meditation According to the Pali Nikayas and Exegetical Sources, which is quite interesting. There's a few things that totally up to yourselves if you want to read it. It's a part of sort of reference and information, sort of moving through this particular period and for developing understanding. But the main thing is to practice the meditation. That's where the real understanding comes from. Are we ready for some lunch? Bit of a lunch break? Yeah. So we'll maybe take a break for, say, 45 minutes till about, it's now 12:30, till about 1:15. So feel free to sit on the chairs outside. If you want to sit inside and have a bit of lunch, fine. Have a bit of a walk if you want, lie on the grass if you want, have a bit of a snooze if you want. And we'll meet back for about 1:15. So enjoy. Welcome back for the afternoon session. Just a few more reflections before we settle into some meditation. A great quote from the Buddha. It's in a collection of teachings called the Dhammapada, verse 373, where the Buddha says in Pali, Nati janang apanaso, pananati ajayato, yamhi janan chapanya cha, save nibbana santike, which translates as, there is no jhana without wisdom. There is no wisdom without jhana, but one with both jhana and wisdom, they are in the presence of nibbana. enlightenment. So that's very telling in the sense that there is no jhana without wisdom. Wisdom is required to be able to move the mind from being caught up, interested in, attached to, particularly the five senses, even the six senses, including thinking. And so there's no jhana, no clarity and depth of mind without that element of wisdom. There is no wisdom without jhana. So the refinement of mind and consciousness, as we've been appreciating, develops that clarity and a superpower mindfulness, as Ajahn Brahm calls it, superpower mindfulness, to be able to see things clearly, very, very clearly, more than just with the ordinary average mind, where we can understand, okay, yep, everything's impermanent, everything's unsatisfactory, everything's not ultimately a self. But it's only with that superpower mindfulness, refinement of mind through the deeper meditations, that we can then have deep penetrating insight, understanding, deeper level. So for one that has both wisdom and jhana, refinement of mind, states of consciousness, then they are in the presence close to enlightenment. So both are important. And also appreciating then that it's wisdom that helps us to not be poured into those five hindrances. Because a lot of the time in our meditation, what gets in the way is thinking about something interesting, something that I want to do, something that I didn't do, should do, have to do, could do, might do, will do, or won't do. So thinking about stuff, often thinking about things that are pleasant and pleasurable, which is why it's important to, in a way, leave the world behind when you come and sit down to meditation, whether it's here or at home. Leave the world behind, because the world involves lots of interesting, exciting, scintillating, fascinating, distracting things that cause distortions to the mind. So leave the world behind, which in a way is like leaving the five hindrances behind, where the discourses often talk about the person entering meditation. So secluded from sense desires, secluded from abandoning ill will. Again, the five hindrances. Leaving the world behind, because the world is very much made up of and revolving around those five hindrances. Like seclusion. Seclusion is about not taking your five friends with you when you go on retreat, where you go to meditate. Now we might come here with the five friends, thoughts of sense desire, thoughts of ill will, negativity, dullness, agitation, doubt. It's like, okay, guys, I'm leaving you outside. Anyone remember that wonderful TV program series that they had in the 70s called Monkey? And so that it's about this monk Tripitaka, who's going on this journey, this pilgrimage, and he's got three friends with him. So the three friends being Monkey,
Sandy
and
Pixie.
Piggy, Pigsy. So his three friends, greed, anger, and ignorance, which were aspects of himself. And so obviously he gets these companions, they get lots of adventures and so forth. And but ultimately, for him to end his journey, enlightenment, he needs to let go of, abandon, being caught in, being attached to his friends. So it's sort of that, it's as much a psychological journey as it is sort of the external thing that we see with the TV show. And so too for us, it's about deciding that we don't need those friends. Are they really friends anyway? They're, a burden to be engaged with. They might have been company with us, not just this lifetime, but countless lifetimes. My friend has been desire. My friend has been aversion. My friend has been dullness. My friend has been agitation or doubt. those five hindrances. But it's about, okay, at least I can have a break from when I'm meditating, which is good, and then maybe also into more hours outside of meditation. So it's a real both a samadhi and also a vipassana practice to be aware of our mind states and also the mental phenomena. So in the context of the four foundations of mindfulness, yes, mindfulness of body experience, felt experience, but particularly mind state and also mental content, mind content, to see if the mind's coming from any of those five friends, those five hindrances. And as a practice to be mindful enough to note, that thought is a thought pertaining to some sort of sensory pleasure, sensory desire, even if it's about just the pleasure of thinking interesting things. That can be one to get caught into. Interesting words, interesting ideas, interesting memories, the pleasure of thought. But it's a great distraction. Thoughts tend to always be about past or future. They can be a little bit of a commentary on what's happening in the moment, but they tend to be about past or future, creating time and creating self in time. Oh, that was me last year. Oh, that's what I want to be doing next weekend. So they create time and also self. The sense of self needs time. It's only in time, in the present moment. If there's just awareness in the present moment of a sound or a smell or a taste, there's no self in it unless thinking happens. Oh, I like that. Reminds me of, how can I get more of that in the future? Suddenly there's a story happening that creates the sense of self, a role and a role play, a drama. So the more we're practicing meditation, we're ending the drama, both in terms of the play of life, but also the drama as in like the issues and angst that life does involve, being dramatic, and coming back to space, coming back to peace, off stage. So that's where the world ends. The world ends when there's no more need for self to have a world to be playing into, the drama of life. So that the persona that the mind wears, persona, the Greek word for mask or sense of self, that's no longer required. Or it's only used as a relational tool. The mind knows that this is just a mask that's used in the drama of life. Sometimes it's a tragedy, sometimes it's a comedy, Greek drama. So the term persona or self is used only when required. So also what's important is to appreciate the five qualities that help to counteract those five hindrances. So on the sheets that you've got, the first quality is vitakka. And this is like the Buddha's psychological insight to see what is it, what quality of mind helps to reduce, stave off, hold back, eradicate these five hindrances. So when initial application directing the mind to the meditation object, such as the breath, that helps to reduce then dullness of mind. This is a directing. The mind's not dull when you're directing attention. The next one, vichara, so holding or sustaining attention to the meditation object. And that helps to reduce then doubt, a quality of doubt which is sort of flickering, moving, not sure. It's more holding in the present moment, holding to attention, holding to the breath. So doubt. The next one, piti, which is a sense of joy or delight, and that helps to reduce aversion. Can't have two opposing emotions at the same time. So if there's a sense of joy and delight, then there's no aversion. You can't have aversion We can't have piti or the joy and delight when there's aversion there. So the more there is a sense of focusing attention, sustaining attention, the energy is there, there's a sense of collectedness, then joy, natural joy. It's a neurological response to concentration. It's like a sense of flow, being in the zone occurs, and that then helps to counteract any aversion. The next one, sukha, which is translates as happiness or well-being, which is more of a whole body feeling of well-being, and that helps to counteract agitation. So it's more of a calmed energy. The piti, again, the Buddhist word piti, joy or rapture is a bit more heightened. So with the sukha, it's more of a grounded, whole, pleasant feeling, well-being. And again, that helps to counteract agitation, unsettledness, sort of a unsettled, fragmented, energetic expression. Then the last quality, ekagata, one-pointed attention. Eka means one. Gata, sort of focused. So one focus, one-pointed attention. And again, to the meditation object, that helps to move the mind from getting caught into thinking and desiring, wanting. So by being aware of, okay, I'm aware of what these 5 hindrances are, I'm aware of that which can be used to help them. There's, again, psychological medicine to help bring the mind to a profound state of collectedness, cohesion, coherence, coalescence, concentration, deep peace. And again, that's where the mind moves into these deeper states that are very purifying, cleansing, delightful for the mind. I'll send out an article by Karen Arbel. It's an article that relates to a book that she's written about the deeper states of meditation as the way to enlightenment within themselves, because for the mind to progress and develop and deepen in them, then there is a natural wisdom and understanding that's occurring, an insightful understanding, and particularly as the mind becomes more purified and refined through the deeper states of meditation, then there's not much insight is required for enlightenment, because the mind sees so clearly. So just seeing just an aspect of impermanence, then that's enough, because the mind is so refined, like a powerful light beam that can penetrate to amazing depth and clarity. So it's like we're going from a regular 240 light bulb into a laser beam that's able to penetrate deeply. Just the regular light bulb, you can shine on something, but it's not cutting it. It's not sort of going deep, but the same voltage, but refined, very accurate, can be a laser beam which can cut through the illusion, and doesn't need to sort of shine a whole lot, just to penetrate deeply. Again, these energies of the 5 hindrances, we look at them in energies. It's like the energy of desire is like a wanting, sort of coming in, grasping. The energy of aversion is more of a pushing away, sort of pushing away, reacting type of energy, even though it's still not wanting, is the wanting to not have. I don't want that. I want to not have to experience that. So it's still a wanting, but it's just a polarized wanting this way or wanting to not have. And there's the dullness, the mental dullness is like a heavy, the energies become sort of heavy, sort of morbid type of feel. The agitation is then the energy sort of moving, restless, unsettled. And the doubt is like the energy sort of fluxing, polarizing. Is it this? Is it that? Is this right? Is this right? Sort of not sure. So again, it's life energy, but transforming the unsettled energy of the 5 hindrances into energy with the 5 factors that lead to deeper meditation, more harmonized, more refined, more focused, more powerful. And that's in many ways the practice. The practice doesn't need to be really complex or complicated, so that can lead to confusion, even conflict in terms of, different ideas of what's right, but more like, well, okay, refine the mind, and see things more clearly, reducing greed, anger, ignorance as it manifests through the 5 hindrances, and then clarity, insight, letting go, freedom. That's it. Of course, the Buddha taught for 45 years, left home when he was 29, became enlightened when he was 35. So 6 years of solid, full-on, intense practice to realize enlightenment, then taught for the next 45 years, passed away when he was 80. So a lot of teachings that were recorded, in terms of recited, remembered, later on written down. But a lot of teachings that are basically variations, extrapolations, varieties on basically the same sort of fundamental teachings. And even there's a little saying that summarizes the Buddha's teachings: every evil never doing, and in wholesomeness increasing, and one's heart well purifying. This is the Buddha's teachings. So refraining from unwholesomeness, purifying the mind, every evil never doing, and in wholesomeness increasing, so developing the good, purifying the mind. That is the Buddha's teachings. It's pretty simple. Not too much to have to remember. All the other stuff is just extra aids, the Eightfold Path. Remember what that is: the 4 Noble Truths, the 4 Right Efforts. The 5 hindrances, 7 enlightenment factors, 12-point dependent origination, etc., etc. Lots of extra stuff, but all just aids to help that penetrating truth into the nature of reality and letting go. So let's let go into some meditation. So we'll do a meditation, about 30 minutes, then we'll go out, do some walking, 30 minutes, come back in, and then have the last half an hour, some time for further questions, discussion, and finishing it with a short dedication of merit meditation. Settling into our afternoon with a sense of joy and contentment, joy in being, content in what we're doing, the gift of meditation to mind and body, to sense of self. The eyes gently closed, bringing awareness within, breathing out any stress, tension, relaxing awareness into the body, this foundation for experience. Feeling the body sitting here. Noticing some contact sensations, reference points to present knowing, feeling the feet connecting with the floor, feeling the body connecting with the chair, cushion, or meditation stool. Feeling the placement of the hands and fingers. Maybe feeling some degree of air against our face. Noticing some degree of light coming in through the closed eyelids. And not being distracted by any background sounds. Not getting caught into the internal mental sound or mental image sites of thoughts. As we turn the mind to notice and feel each breath, wherever we might feel that breath the most, generally somewhere in the nose nostril area, feeling that soothing sensation of the inflow of the breath, relaxing expression of the outflow of the breath, directing attention, sustaining attention, feeling and knowing each breath, whilst maybe also the eyes looking forward through the closed eyelids, that lightness, brightness, blankness. Using a mental meditative word in the mind if we wish, 1 or 2 words with each breath. Such words as calm on the in-breath, ease on the out-breath. But whatever works. Feeling and knowing each breath, exercising attention, developing focus, leading to mental collectedness, composure, concentration, and inner calm ease. Simply being, breathing, knowing each soothing, therapeutic breath. So please feel free to continue with some walking meditation for about 30 minutes. If you wish to keep sitting, that's fine as well. We can resume back here for about 2:30. And I'll ring my chimes when it's time to come back in again. So we've had some sitting meditation, walking meditation, eating meditation, moving towards the end of our afternoon session here. So just checking in to see how you're doing and how you're feeling, and any particular questions or comments, concerns or complaints. So how are we doing? Okay.
I found it very difficult today to reach any of those states.
That's okay. Just be mindful.
Yeah, it was hard. I'm glad I stayed for the whole day, but I found it really hard because I've been working 6 days a week, so my mind is so saturated.
So
In roles and responsibilities and tasks. It's just was such a difficult task to snap out of it.
sounds like you need a break though.
Definitely need a break. Yeah.
So how is your mind usually on a Sunday at home?
Well, if I have Saturday as a break as well, you know, it's generally more relaxed and I can switch on. But yeah, I found the walking meditation quite useful.
Yeah.
I found the breathing and yeah, just it was good to observe it, but it was very challenging.
So the mind going to thoughts about work.
Yeah, it's almost like when you have I don't know if anyone experiences this, but if you have a work dream where you're just at work in some really banal situation, like a really boring task, and you just feel like you've worked for free for 8 hours, but in dreams. Like I used to dream about that, but I used to, as a teenager working in an ice cream shop, you know, it's just like those dreams of just the super banal, but you do feel like when you can't switch off, you're working for free. Your mind, that role is taking over you.
Just go to work and ask for bonus. I was working on my during the night for youth, solving problems, thinking things out.
So the walking meditation was quite good. And in a way, just using the, you know, lifting, placing, but I sort of liked what you talked about today, of like the mask of taking the roll off, and I sort of even used the foot up of like pick the roll up, put the roll down, and just started with that, and then moved into the lifting and placing. But
yeah, good.
Just trying to get that roll away from my being. It's really hard.
So you're back to work tomorrow? Well, you've got the rest of the afternoon and the night to be free of the work role. But our regular meditation practice, ideally every day, really helps to create that bracketing, that parameter of just disconnecting, so that becomes like a mind muscle, a mindfulness muscle, so that it's more easy to take the hat off, work hat, or the idea of the mug. Ajahn Chah sort of being asked, so why do you meditate, and what's meditation? He said to the person, well, I've got a mug here. It's my mug of tea. How heavy is it? Not very heavy, they say. And he said, that's right, half a mug of tea, not very heavy. If I have to hold it out like this for an hour, how heavy is it? Oh, it's getting heavier. Yes. If I have to hold it out like this all day, how heavy is it? Very heavy, excruciating, painful. So what do? Well, just put it down. That's it. So meditation is putting the mug down. So you work mug, even maybe your home mug as well, putting it down, because even if you're not adding to the content, the longer you're holding it, it gets heavier and heavier. So that we're continually carrying many, many mugs, even other people's mugs. So by putting them down, you go, okay, a break. It's manageable. I can, take a break for my 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever of meditation in the day. No mugs, no rolls, no stress, break. And then when you're required to take up the mug, you have that strength and energy to do so. Or on the weekend, put the mug down, leave the mug at work. Otherwise, if it's on your weekend on a retreat with the mug in your hands, it's difficult. So regular meditation helps to develop that mind muscle of letting go, bracketing, being in the present moment. It's like exercising with free weights. Really simple, but the body gets stronger so that then you can lift things without strain. And that's where the walking meditation is really helpful, especially if there's lots of thoughts, and even saying in your mind, lifting, placing, lifting, placing. And the grossness of the walking can be more of a helpful strategy than just the breath. If you are doing the breath, then that's where a mantra or counting, the breath's up to 5. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 1, 1, 2, 2. And the idea is to get to 5 without thinking. If you start thinking, up, back to 1 again. The goal is to get to 5 without thinking. So these are just strategies. But we need them because, as I said at the beginning, life is becoming more complex, more challenging, more stressful. And so we do need to have that break. Otherwise, we break down and burn out. Mm. Any other thoughts or comments, questions?
I've been just really watching my breathing and noticing particularly the outward breath, because I think I often take quite a deep inward breath, but the outward breath is quite rushed. And I've noticed that when I swim, I should have a really good rhythm of breathing.
Yeah.
But that I tend to hold it at the end of the in-breath and let it out. And as a result, it's not a smooth process. And I think but the holding the breath is something to do with being prepared. I think it's a sort of being prepared to have enough oxygen in case of emergency. And so that keeps me in a constant state of arousal.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, the breath is a really good topic object of meditation because it relates to how the body is, the body state, emotional state, mental state. So the depth, the breadth, the measure, the tempo, the rhythm of the breathing will relate to how we're actually doing and feeling. But also you can modify the breath to some degree if one is not doing so well. If you're feeling tense, okay, just relax, a long outgoing breath, slow it down. Or if you're feeling a bit dull and drowsy, then sort of emphasize the breath a bit more, stronger in breath, not such a longer out breath because that's too relaxing. But generally speaking, people don't breathe that well. And fundamentally, when we feel tense, and we're people in generally, there's like this ongoing tense stress, generalized stress disorder that everybody has to some degree, but we don't notice it because everybody's got it. And so when we come to meditation, we can have a bit of a measure of, wow, this is what it's like to actually relax and let go. But Um, Often just checking in how the abdomen is. If the abdomen's tense and tight, not because you've done a whole lot of sort of abdominal exercises, but because we're holding it in, tense, 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 tense. That means the diaphragm goes up, which means the lungs can't expand as much, which means you can't get as much oxygen into the lungs, into the blood through the lungs, into the brain, which then causes lack of attention, causes a lack of cognitive awareness, lack of memory, lack of creativity, and putting the brain into that amygdala flight, flight, fright, stress, fight response, so that we're sort of in that sort of tense, intense way of being, which becomes sort of not just in the moment, but just a way of generally being. And that's what we need to sort of be aware of. Relax the abdomen, breathe out, let go, get some proper oxygen, be more aware, connect to life, not so much caught up thinking. So mindfulness of the breathing is not just for meditation, but something that we can use as in mainstream regular life for psychological well-being.
I heard something on the ABC last night, and I can't remember the name of the guy, but it was amazing. It's about that.
Well, there's a book came out a few years ago, called Breath, the New Science of a Lost Art. Anyone read the book? Forget the name of the guy that wrote it, but he's been interviewed in sort of different places, and he's got a YouTube clip about it. I got given the book a couple of weeks ago. I was aware of it from a couple of years ago when someone mentioned it to me, and saw the writer interviewed. But it's a really good book to have a look into, and talking about how often people, because they're not breathing properly, often breathing through their mouth, trying to get the air in quicker, it affects their whole physiology, heart rate, and a lot of illnesses can be cured by getting people to breathe better, including sleep and also anxiety.
You have Buteyko?
Buteyko?
Yeah.
Or asthma. Yeah.
Yes, that's a way of measuring the breath and teaching people to breathe properly, I guess.
Yeah.
This was an English guy, sorry. This was an English guy speaking on the
English guy, okay, right. Yeah. I think, forget if this guy was English or not.
I remember that it's Dr. Mosley, who's English, on one of his programs, he was saying something about breathing, counting to 4, breathing out, counting to 4 again. And that was sort of like a meditation in a way that you wouldn't think of anything else but the breathing. And I've practiced it, and in my experience, I feel that after a while of doing it, and I would even say after a short while, I get a sense like I can take a really deep and relaxing breath. Because I'm sort of one of these people that doesn't breathe properly normally.
Yeah, it's so important, and the more we even just use the mindfulness of breathing, anapanasati meditation, it'll help us to be more aware of our breath in regular day-to-day life as well.
I found this particular advice, he's passed away now, but there was one advice that stuck with me, and I'm practicing it every night before I go to sleep.
Good.
Consciously, I mean.
Yeah. That's good. Brendan, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, John, been more aware of my thoughts, coming up and not being in control of that. So something that I know, but more recently, my meditation, and today, when I was doing walking meditation, it was, quite a strong feeling of awareness of just how, I don't control these thoughts, that it's a process happening. And I guess that awareness feels like it's allowing me to then stay with the breath longer and not have those thoughts coming up. So just the awareness of it. And I guess I'm trying to differentiate the awareness of it versus the intellectual knowledge of it is different. And it seems to be, there's a noticeable impact to the quality of my meditation because of that.
So being aware of the thoughts.
Yeah. As it's happening.
Yeah.
This thoughts just popped up, but I didn't ask for this thought to pop up.
No.
It's not something I wanted to happen. It just
a random thought.
Yeah. And just the awareness that I don't control that thought, it then helps me let go of it quicker.
Right.
Get back to the.
So you're not having to then make a judgment. Why am I thinking that? I shouldn't think that.
Yeah.
I'll try to push it away.
Yeah, because normally it's like, oh yes, why am I having this thought? You know, like
which is
I've
another
failed.
thought.
Yeah, my thought.
Yeah,
It's not my thought. It's just happening.
Yeah.
Mm.
And certainly the brain mind has the ability to think, and thoughts do come up, especially you sit down to meditation. Often the only time that we sit down and give ourselves some downtime is maybe in meditation. Then the brain goes, oh, but what about this? Think about this, remember this, and you've got to do that. And it's like, oh gosh. So it can be quite challenging, which is why it's also helpful as a strategy to have what I call some both TFA, thought-free awareness, and also CCT, conscious consideration time. So time, thought-free awareness, meditation, and also take some time to sit down to actually have some thoughts. I'm going to sit down for the next 45 minutes and just either free think, okay, oh, that's an interesting thing. Oh, yeah, remember that, and jot some things down, or go, okay, I've got six things I need to think about. I'm going to think about that, work out that. That's an idea. Remember that, problem solve that. So you've got your thinking time, and then also you've got your non-thinking time, which could be the meditation. Because as a society, we're missing out on quality thinking time. There's a lot of junk thinking time happening, or time that we're thinking whilst we're driving, or we're eating, or talking to somebody, still thinking, because we haven't given ourselves some quality downtime for thinking. Because there's too many other interesting things, pick up the phone. It's like, oh, something interesting to sort of have a look at, and go to your social media and so forth. Years ago, sitting waiting for a bus or a train or whatever, just think things, ponder, a bit of daydreaming, so forth. So thoughts get processed and get sort of thought through. We're not having that time anymore. So it's coming up more in meditation or when you go to sleep. So lie down and the backload of thought suddenly comes up. So giving ourselves quality thought time, which allows then the meditation, is like quality no thinking time. TFA, thought-free awareness.
When I used to run a lot, that was a really good thought time. I'd have insights while I was running.
Because you couldn't be on the phone while you're running.
No.
Or swimming.
Or swimming, that's right.
Loretta?
Thanks. Could you just repeat those acronyms you just said, please?
TFA, thought-free awareness, and CCT, conscious consideration time.
Thank you.
Susanna?
I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the overall topic of early Buddhism, and it gives me an enormous amount of space by internally stripping everything back to the basics. So it feels like, it's not. I have the tendency to complicate everything and intellectualize and keep myself busy. And by just saying, okay, it's just going back to the basics, and there is not a lot of ritual and anything around. So I just feel very nurtured.
Yeah, that's good. Because again, life and the world is becoming increasingly complex and complicated. We can't really stop that. So let's not complicate the Buddha's teachings, because it's a fundamental, just look at truth, look at reality, look at what is. And the practice as well is fundamentally quite simple. We don't have to complicate that. The mind likes to proliferate and complicate things, add-ons and extras, and make it more interesting, colorful, whatever. But fundamentally, it's if we're coming back to basics, keep it simple. and the whole topic of early Buddhism, which has really only started to come to light over the last 10 years because of um, theorists, academics, monastics, many of them are monastics as well, really being able to look into understanding the original Pali teachings and not just go on translations that were made 200 years ago by German Indianologists and English sort of explorers and so forth that were sort of interested in Eastern and Oriental sort of topics, but actually seeing is that the right word? Is that the proper translation? Or maybe that's not quite right. And that relates to that other discourse as well. So developing more of an accurate understanding of what the Buddha spoke about, also comparing the Chinese early sort of scriptures, the agamas, to the Pali teachings as well, to see where there is alignment, to see if something's been added or modified. And also because there's more Western monastics that are practicing and understanding what the Buddha was speaking about in terms of practices and meditations, not just again 100 or 200 years ago there wasn't really Westerners practicing Buddhism. It was more just Westerners were interested in Buddhist philosophy and the history of Buddhism, and more from an academic research, Eastern Oriental sort of studies point of view. But now it's real practice, and then we can verify these states of mind or these qualities or these practices. How do they work, and what did the Buddha actually say about these, and to see where there's mistranslation. So it's like psychological, not just anthropology, but archaeology, that we're going and discovering, wow, these teachings and understandings that's taking away the surface layers of there's something there, but finding out what's underneath and what that, let's say that temple of truth actually was like, not just the pyramid that's on top of it, which has been added over the centuries. So it's fascinating. And again, particularly as Buddhism is developing in the West, to keep it as true to what the Buddha said and how the Buddha practiced and what the Buddha taught people to practice. So it's not just an add-on to some of the Asian traditions which have developed over the last 1,000 years, but more, okay, well, if we're going to establish Buddhism in Australia, in England, America, Europe, and so forth, let's go to what it's actually about, not just taking the Eastern add-ons, which may certainly be fine. Eastern culture, a lot of the interpretations have been based upon the cultural sort of sentiment and feeling of whether it's Japanese or Tibetan or Thai or Vietnamese, but to see what relates to our psychology and culture here, and particularly that is directly leading towards freeing the mind from stress and suffering, truth and realization. So I'll be sending out some more sort of things to have a look into next week, this coming week. Any last question or comment? All good. The next retreat day is on the 15th of September. So 4 weeks away. Another full moon time. So I think the full moon is actually maybe this Monday or Tuesday. Tuesday. So we're sort of aligning them to the Sundays. So that's sort of a nice time to come together. So do keep up your meditation practice, and certainly everyone's welcome to come to the Thursday night drop-in group here, 6:30 to 7:30, and also to keep your practice going at home as well, which is the main thing. Having that flow on into being mindful in our day-to-day day-to-day life. So let's, in the last couple of minutes, just sit and have a sense of thankfulness and joy for our day and dedicate goodness and merit, good karma. So again, settling into the moment, breathing out stress, tension, relaxing the body, the breath, the mind, relaxing the heart, opening the heart, feeling present, receptive, attentive, coming back to simply being, knowing, experiencing present moment through each soothing breath. And particularly seeing if we can generate a feeling of joy, joy of having spent this day well, a mindful day, wholesome, meaningful, good karma day, good energy. The Buddha said one of the most worthwhile things a human being can do is to cultivate the quality of their consciousness, especially through meditation. So we've lived this day well, connecting in the morning, sharing our day together, being mindful, being meditative, listening, sharing, asking questions, making comments, developing a sense of community, a mindful, meditative community, especially in this area. So feeling good for what we've done, a sense of joy, appreciative joy, the good karma, the wholesomeness, the good energy, the merit that comes from wholesome actions, that quality that we can also share with others. So bringing awareness down to the heart center, the place at the center of our chest, the spiritual heart, and just imagining we can breathe directly into and out from that area. As we breathe in through the heart center, that area opening, receiving, feeling our whole body with a sense of joy and ease, a sense of calm, goodness, delight, which we can breathe out through the heart center into the space in front of us, breathing into and out from our heart center. Breathing out joy, goodwill, even sharing of that goodness with others, and particularly bringing to mind someone or even several people that we'd like to share that goodness with, bringing them to mind in our mind's eyes that we can maybe see them in front of us, maybe smiling towards us, breathing out that good energy, maybe with thoughts such as, may you be well, may you be free from stress and suffering, may you fulfill your life potential. This wish of wholesomeness towards that person or persons. May you be well. May you be free from stress and suffering. May you fulfill your life potential. Breathing into and out from our heart center. Sharing the joy, good feeling, the wholesome karma, good energy with people that are close to us, special to us, important to us in our life. Breathing that energetic breath awareness as a light, a radiance, a color, a warmth or coolness May you be well. May you be free from stress and suffering. May you fulfill your life's potential. The gift of goodness, of merit. Allowing that image of that person or persons to fade, and just getting a sense of everyone sitting here, everyone that's been part of our day. A couple of people have needed to leave. Everyone that's been part of our day, this shared experience. Breathing that good vibe energy out to everyone as we breathe out through the heart center, giving, caring, sharing. May you all be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, fulfilling your life potential. And as we breathe in, receiving that goodwill from everyone else into our own heart center, that sense of sharing, the goodness, the joy. Breathing out, giving, breathing in, receiving. May you all be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, fulfilling your life potential. Feeling that sense of warmth and vibrancy, a sense of connectedness, sense of community, support. Breathing in, breathing out through the heart center. Feeling the good feeling of joy, well-being. And then bringing to mind ourself. So even wishing ourselves well. And may I too be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, actualizing and fulfilling my life potential. Feeling good for what we've done over this day, appreciating our efforts, giving ourselves some goodwill, some kindness, some care. May I too be well, happy, free from pain, issue, illness, actualizing my life potential. Also reminding ourselves to keep our commitment to mindfulness, to meditation practice, living and leading a wholesome life, path and practice of truth, of Dharma, towards spiritual freedom, enlightenment. When you feel ready to end the meditation, just taking a deep breath and slowly opening our eyes to finish. So thank you for sharing your presence today, being here. And again, I encourage you to keep up the practice for your well-being and the well-being and of others. And also thank you to those helpers that came early, Brendan, especially the IT, and Justin, and May, and Clint, who needed to go early. So thank you to everyone.